Hello everybody and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol custom character creation video, and we are starting out the month of March with our first of the Transformers characters. Transformers won the poll at the end of the last month, so really excited to get into these guys. And we're starting out with probably one of, if not the biggest name in Transformers, Optimus Prime. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into things. So you guys will be able to see I've already split him into the Transform card. We're probably gonna be doing the Transform card for most of these characters. In theory, we could do it as two separate cards, but honestly, I think that's just going to make these videos way too long if we do two full cards for each character. So I think it'll be more interesting if we just kind of work in the restrictions of the kind of split card space where we'll have normal form and vehicle form. So with that said, let's start looking at our basic stat line here for Mr. Prime. So first of all, his normal size and speed. Well, he's a big dude. He's going to be size 4, I think. And I think we're going to make his driving speed medium, but his normal speed is just going to be slow because he's going to be on a large base. He's not going to be moving around slowly either way, so he's going to be a lot faster when he's in his vehicle mode, but he'll still be able to get around all right in his robot mode. As far as defensive stats go, this one's a little bit interesting for the Transformers. They're probably going to be relatively similar, but I don't think they're particularly weak on any one side. I would probably lean towards physical being their strongest, but for now, I think I'm just going to throw them as a 4-4-4 for everything and kind of go from there. I mean, I'm not 100% sure if you could make the argument that, like, they should have the, like, weird, like, Sentinel style tech against Mystic. Maybe you could, maybe you couldn't, whether, you know, where you want to draw that line on whether or not they're robots or they're living beings. I think I'm going to draw the line towards them being living beings and leave them with just kind of a normal Mystic defense stat. But I could see an argument kind of going either way here. So we're just going to give him 4-4-4 for now. If anything, I'll probably bump either Mystic or Energy down to a 3. Definitely want Physical to be the best. And for Stamina, I think we're going to go with something along the lines of like 8 or 9. We definitely don't want him to be squishy. I mean, he's Optimus Prime. So I'm thinking maybe like an 8-9 split or something like that. And we'll rebalance that if we feel like we need to as we go. So now that we have this out of the way, it's time to start looking at what sort of attacks we want to give him on either side of his card. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. There's a couple things that I know I want to give him. Obviously, he's holding the blaster in the image here. We've got just kind of one of those G1 style images for the character here. Yeah, he's holding a big gun, so he's going to need a big gun. That's going to make sense. And then for me, I am a huge fan of the Energon axe that he wields, particularly. I'm have to call myself out here. I originally was a Transformers fan through the Bayverse movies, and I absolutely love his sword and his axes and stuff like that. So definitely got to be giving him one of those as well. So that's probably going to end up being a spender, but first we're going to have to figure out what we want to do for his blaster. So, according to the wiki page that I found, it's supposed to be an ion blaster, which I think is kind of interesting. So, ion blaster is what we'll call it. It'll be a ranged weapon. We're probably going to make this something like a range 4, maybe even a range 5 would be fine, but I don't really want him to be like a sniper role, so I think range 4 is probably fine here. And we're going to probably make this like a strength 5 or 6. I think we'll do strength 5 for now, and this will be an energy attack, of course. We're going to make this a builder, so it's just going to gain him power based on the damage that he deals, and then we're going to probably want to do at least something else with it. Being an ion blaster, obviously it's going to kind of, in theory, work differently against robotic or, construct creatures versus regular humans, so it's going to be kind of hard to make this work fluff-wise against everything, but I'm thinking, given that it's some sort of ion weapon, probably something like a Wild Slow would work interestingly for this, and, you know, a Wild Slow on a range 4 gun is pretty good, so, yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and work that out, and we'll jump right back in. Alrighty, so we've got our basic blaster here with a Wild Slow tacked onto it, and we're going to move on to the Energon Axe next. Now, because this is an Energon weapon, I think there's an argument for it to be energy, but of course it's also an axe, so I think there's an argument to be physical. So the first thing I want to do is say it can be physical or energy, and that kind of just gives us a little bit of flexibility with this attack right out the gate. But now we got to move into actually statting it out. So this is an axe, it's going to be relatively close range, so I think we're going to keep that range 2. For actual dice, I'm thinking something like maybe 8 dice, and we'll have it cost maybe 3 or 4. And for special rules, I think the main idea here is we want this to just kind of hit like a truck. So I'm thinking we're going to give it some form of pierce. And maybe that's about it. Maybe we have like a push or a throw tacked onto it as well. Like he kind of like hooks them and tosses them away sort of deal. I don't hate the idea of that. So maybe we'll do like a throw on here as well. For the pierce, because I don't like doing the double up on triggers, we'll probably do the throw as like a wild and the pierce on a crit or something like that. And then of course he'll be choosing whether it's physical or energy. And that feels pretty good for a spender to me. Alrighty, so now we've gone ahead and added our Energon Axe. So this is a crit pierce and a wild throw, and you're choosing whether it's physical or energy. Moving on to his superpowers, of course, we're going to need to give him the ability to transform. So I think we're just going to simply call this transform. We're going to make it cost 1 power. We want this to be something he can do back and forth relatively easily. And he's going to have a similar ability on the other side to transform back. So we're going to give him that one right now as well. And once again, we're just going to call it transform. And we're going to have it cost 1. And yeah, this will just be how he flips back and forth between the two sides of his card. Alrighty, now that we've given him his transform ability, I think it's time that, we need to consider what sort of leadership we want to give him, because we're going to be giving him a leadership. And in addition, there's one other superpower that I want to give him, at least on his kind of robot form here, which is basically just going to be strategic genius, because I mean that is kind of the role he fills a lot of the time, and yeah, I think it just makes a lot of sense. It's going to make his dice a lot more consistent, and that's kind of what I was thinking about when I made the Ion Blaster only a 5 dicer. So yeah, we're going to give him that as well. That's just going to be a passive. So we're going to give him Strategic Genius, but when we get to that, first I want to focus on what we're going to be doing with this leadership. And I'm thinking something about the transform mechanic. I'm thinking something along the lines of when an allied character transforms, they can gain a power or something like that. Basically, lets your transformers transform for free. Gives you some kind of interesting splashes too if you want to play with like Ant-Man or Miss Marvel or Wasp there. Something kind of neat. So yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm going to go for, is when an allied character transforms, they gain 1 power, and just kind of gives you some cool potential play around with a handful of splashes, and of course is going to work really, really well with all the other Transformer characters. Alrighty, so we get him the Autobots rollout leadership. I was thinking about maybe trying to add something else to this, because it feels a little underwhelming as it is, but it's actually going to give you a lot of kind of free mobility, which I think is potentially really interesting. So it might be okay, just because the kind of faction gimmick is going to be everyone transforms. So effectively making those superpowers not free, but they refund themselves, is going to be really, really big. And then, of course, Strategic Genius is just Strategic Genius. Turns out it's really, really good. So we have that there. And at that point, we are out of space on his kind of normal side of his card, so it's time to start looking at his vehicle side, where we're going to be giving him an attack. Obviously, he's going to need some form of way to punch people, and I think I'm just going to call this I don't know if I want to call it a ram attack, because I kind of want to give him a actual, like, glider ram style ability as well, so I don't really know what I want to do for the actual attack on this side. Alrighty, so after putting a tiny bit of thought into it, I think what I'm going to do is some sort of like transform takedown is what I'm kind of leaning towards calling it. And basically the idea behind this is it's going to be something like range 3, and it's going to be, let's say 6 dice. And what's going to happen is you're going to use this attack, and then after the attack is resolved, you're going to get to transform, which is of course going to give you a power, which is what I kind of like about it. So we're going to make this a gainer. We don't want this to be a builder, because it's going to be 6 dice, and you're going to be gaining a power afterwards anyways. And all it's going to do afterwards is transform you and place you within one of the target. And of course, we're going to have the transform go after, so place within one will be before damage, and the transform after. So yeah, I'm going to word this out, and then I'm going to realize that there was something else I wanted to put on this side of his card that I don't have the space for anymore, so this could be a little interesting. Alrighty, so we've added the transform takedown. Before damage, he's going to place himself within one of the target. After the attack, he's going to transform, and he's going to gain 1 power, and then of course he's going to gain another power for having transformed if he's using his own leadership. So now we get to the point of I wanted to have another superpower on the side, and I'm realizing that I don't have the space to do that. So this is going to be interesting how we can try and squeeze this in. We're going to see what it looks like if I just try and write it in here anyways. So basically, I wanted to give him hit and run because I gave him a range 4 attack, and I gave him a range 2 spender. So I wanted to have hit and run on here. And we're going to see what it looks like if we just squeeze that in there and see if it looks okay. We're going to make it cost 2 power, and yeah, I think that should be just about fine. So yeah, we're going to see how this goes. It might be interesting, but yeah, squeeze that in there if I can. If not, we might have to change some things. Alrighty, so yeah, it definitely doesn't work quite as nicely as I wanted it to. It's taking up slightly too much space here on the card, and we're losing some of Strategic Genius here. So something is going to have to change, and I think it's the Energon Axe. I think we're going to take something off of this axe. I wasn't a crazy fan of the throw to begin with, but also I think the throw makes it good, and the pierce is not what's doing that. So I think the pierce is what's going to go, and we're just going to leave it with the throw, and hopefully that's enough. Let's see. Yeah, that fits a lot nicer. Okay, perfect. So, yeah, we take away the pierce. Do we want to make it better for that? Maybe we bump it up a die or something like that. Yeah, that, honestly, it's probably fine still. Yeah, that's probably still fine. Then we're going to go back to the vehicle side, where we do want to give him a superpower on this side as well. We want to give him the ram attack, and this one's basically just going to be, it's a pounce. He's going to throw himself and not take damage for having done so. We're going to make this cost 3 because he's a size 4, and honestly, maybe we should make this cost 4. His power generation is going to be pretty solid, I think, so yeah, we don't want to give him the ability to do this too often, because it is going to hit like a truck, no pun intended. Alrighty, so we have the ram attack all set up here. So it's going to cost him 4. He's going to throw himself medium, which is his movement speed on this side. I figured that just kind of makes sense. And he doesn't take damage if he collides with another character or terrain feature. This super can only be used once per turn. And yeah, I think this just kind of works. Makes a lot of sense for him to have it, especially since, like, that's kind of a thing Optimus is known for doing, is just, like, in truck form, just slamming into enemies to kind of initiate a fight. And then, of course, from there, he gets to use his transform takedown. He's going to gain 2 power to that, and then either an Energon Axe or like a hit and run Ion Blaster or something like that, because after the transform takedown, he has enough to do the hit and run. But if he was already sitting on a couple power, then the Energon Axe works as well. So yeah, I actually really like the idea of that. And I think that's pretty much where we can end off for Mr. Prime here. I was tempted to give him Strategic Genius on both sides, but I think it's more interesting if it kind of gives you an incentive to end your turn on the normal side to get that Strategic Genius bubble. I think that makes sense to me. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with where he's at right now. Now we gotta decide what threat level he's sitting at and whether or not we want to tweak any of his defenses. And right now, he's definitely leaning towards the stronger side for me. With his defenses, with his Strategic Genius, I'm kind of leaning towards like a 5 or 6 threat right now. Maybe slightly towards 6, although I don't know if he quite hits hard enough until he gets power going for a 6. So I think if we're going to make him... he's got Strategic Genius, so this being a 5 dicer is effectively a 6 dicer at range 4 with hit and run. Maybe this is fine. Yeah, maybe this is totally fine. If we duplicate this to the backside, and I guess we should probably make this the proper number, we say 6, and then I think we do 8-8 is what we do. We do 6 threat, 8-8. 4-4-4 with a Strategic Genius reroll is going to be annoying to take down. That makes him bulkier than, say, Namor, who's a 5 threat. He's still got the Strategic Genius, so that's obviously a reasonable comparison point for him. I would say he probably hits harder than Namor on average, especially once you factor in like Transform Takedown being a thing, and he's hitting from further range. He doesn't have quite the same utility as someone like him does, but that's fine because he is hitting so much harder, especially once you factor in the ram attack. Yeah, I think 6 is a decent place to call this guy. And so he's going to have, what, 16 stamina, 4-4-4, no reduction, but a reroll. That feels reasonably bulky as well. Like, that doesn't feel like he's going to be a pushover. Maybe we lighten one of his defenses, like we give him a weakness on energy or something. Maybe that's something we can do. I don't know. That feels all right to me. Yeah, 4-3-4, single reroll. Seems about right. Obviously, without actually putting them on the table, there's only so much I can say, and making high threat characters is always a little bit more challenging. But yeah, I think we are just about done here for Mr. Optimus. I'm pretty happy with how he came out here. I like the Ion Blaster. I'm glad I was able to squeeze in the hit and run there. I almost forgot about it. Strategic Genius just kind of makes sense for me. I did consider just calling it the Matrix of Leadership, but we've seen what happens when we make those things that can stack, so we're calling it Strategic Genius. He's got the Transform. I think his leadership's really fluffy for the Autobots. Is it the strongest leadership in the game? Probably not, although with a Transform into a medium move and still having a power, I think he's going to make himself and possibly every Autobot that I make into a safe grab, which is potentially a problem, but we're not too worried about that, hopefully. It'll be interesting. I think a bump and a medium move on a large base is a safe grab. Like that feels like it's definitely a safe grab, but I haven't tested it myself, so you guys can let me know if I'm wrong. It feels like it is. So yeah, that's obviously going to be kind of where the power of his leadership comes from, is just the fact that his affiliation is all large bases that are all transforming and they're all going to get to keep their power for it. Is going to be pretty good, probably. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with where he came out. I think I got most of the things I wanted to get on him here. I think he feels like Optimus Prime to me. Of course, being being primarily a Bayverse fan originally, curious to see what you guys, kind of the original generation or you know, other versions of the Transformers, what you guys think of this take on the character. Do you guys think I got him right? Do you think there's things that I should have included that I didn't? Definitely let me know down below. Always curious to hear what you guys think. But that is going to do it for this one. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you did, please do drop a like down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Helps me out a bunch. Lets me know you guys are enjoying the stuff we are throwing out here. And if you're really enjoying the custom character content and you want to see more of it, we have started a members only series on the channel for continuing the Pokemon ones that we started a couple months ago. We're going all the way up to the 151, possibly beyond that. I mean, that's going to take like 3 years, so probably not, or at least not for a while. But yeah, that's something we're doing. I'm saving the kind of like big names, you know. We haven't done Charizard yet. We're going to be doing him in the main series, but the members only is just going to be kind of where all the filler characters go right now. This week we're working on Caterpie, Metapod, and Butterfree, so those sorts of Pokemon and things like that. So if you're a fan of the series and you want to see more of it, that is an option. It's only $1 a month and helps us out a bunch. But if not, your support is appreciated nonetheless. So thank you for watching, and yeah, that's going to do it for this one. So until next time, have a great day, everybody. Peace.